pretty good chance that Team Boruto will be unable to stop Mimushi in his quest to consume Ada, as the only person who can stop Mimushi right now is currently unconscious. See, because in this most recent chapter, we saw that the last-ditch effort, which was drawing Mimushi to Ada's location in hopes that all the copies of Mimushi from all corners of Konoha would swarm to Ada with no thought of self-preservation, has unfortunately begun to falter. See, while Shikamaru's plan could have absolutely worked, unfortunately, because the comms between Team Boruto were cut temporarily as Inajin was forced to swap from Mind Transmission Jutsu to Mind Transfer Jutsu in an attempt from Kashin Koji to kill Lord Kobu, Sarada, while comms were cut, used Ohirame against a group of Mamushis that were harassing Konoha citizens. And because of this, when Shikamaru needed Sarada to descend from the heavens and use Ohirame to finish off the last 50 or so Mamushi, after about 150 of them had already been killed by the combined forces of Daemon, Kawaki Boruto, and Himawari, Sarada unfortunately pushed herself beyond her limit and tried to use Ohirame twice in one day, leading her to black out like she did after her battle against Ryu, the first ever time she used Ohirame. And thus Mimushi has once again gained the upper hand in his battle against Team Boruto, dividing himself into 1,000 plus copies. 1,000 plus copies that Team Boruto now has to fight against without the help of either Sarada or Kawaki. So how will Team Boruto get out of this sticky situation? Well, they may not, but there was a small detail, a possible hole in Mamushi's armor that was hammered into our heads in chapter 32. However, the only problem is, in order to exploit that hole, Team Boruto may need Sarada, who is currently unconscious. And thus today I want to explore with you the possibilities of how Team Boruto may be able to skate out of this battle with Mimushi if they're able to at all. Because today we're talking Mimushi will kill Ada. But before we get into all that, guys, please, from me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you're looking for one additional NC Hammer 23 video every single week, guys, you can go ahead and find my Naruto reaction series using the fourth wall link in my description below. Tamari versus Shikamaru is officially kicked off, and love and wind is in the air. Before we get into all that, today I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, Raycon. As we head into spring, it's a great time to refresh your routine and get your body moving in whatever way suits you best. Whether you're getting back into workouts or simply deciding to ride a bike or walk to work as opposed to drive, it helps to have something that fits seamlessly into how you move. And for me, that's been Raycon's bone conduction headphones. See, I've been loving how easy these are to wear during workouts. They sit outside your ear canal so you can stay aware of your surroundings while listening to music or Otaku's Anonymous. At the gym, but want to be able to hear if somebody asks you if they can work in on your machine, well, this is perfect for you. These bone conduction headphones keep you present and comfortable all the time without sacrificing your music or podcast's quality. And right now, you can get them 20% off, which makes it the perfect time to try them. See, Raycon's bone conduction headphones use off-ear audio, sending vibrations through your bones to keep your ears open to the world around you. That way, while I'm training for a half marathon, I can be aware of the traffic that's around me on the street. And with 13 hours of battery life and being IP68 waterproof and dustproof rated, which is perfect for sweat, rain, and sandy beach runs, plus a no-bud fit that doesn't slip off no matter what you do, and premium performance without the premium price tag, as Raycon delivers the same audio quality as their competitors at half the price, there's really no reason to not try out Raycon today, especially when you consider their 30-day happiness guarantee. So what are you waiting for? The bone conduction headphones are perfect for refreshing your schedule this spring. Go to buyraycon.com/NCHammer23BC to get 20% off. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring. So, Mimushi seemingly has one weakness and one weakness alone. And that one weakness is that even though Mimushi is able to split infinitely, and all of the clones he makes of himself can be considered the main body, retaining as much power and chakra as the original Mimushi, the more that Mimushi engages in these splits, the dumber he gets. And therefore, instead of his chakra being diluted upon every split like with a standard shadow clone, rather it's his intelligence that's being sliced up. However, as we barrel into chapter 33 of Two Blue Vortex, seemingly the intelligence of Mimushi no longer matters. While yes, intelligence is obviously an important thing to hold on to when you're trying to find just one woman in the biggest city in the ninja world, now that the woman that Mimushi is looking for has been laid out in front of him, higher intelligence or even functional intelligence is no longer necessary, as all Mimushi needs now is the primal instinct inside of him to consume Ada. And And therefore, one of the last things that we see in chapter 32 of Two Blue Vortex is Mimushi dividing himself into 1,000 plus clones. And considering that all of those 1,000 plus clones are faster than Ada in terms of flying through the air, this is objectively the best decision that Mimushi could have made, and therefore the worst decision for Team Boruto that Mimushi could have made. Especially when consider the fact that two of the heaviest hitters on Team Boruto, both Sarada and Kawaki, are currently incapacitated. And thus the chances of victory between Team Boruto and 1,000 plus Mimushis seems slim at best. And thus all of the information that was provided to us in chapter 32, and there was a lot of information provided to us in chapter 32, seems to point towards the idea that Team Boruto may not win this fight. But if we truly want to hypothesize how this fight may pan out, whether it be good for Team Boruto or bad, we have to take into account all of the things that we learned over the course of chapter 32. Things like the additional information we learned about Daemon's reflectability, how deadly it can be when used against a crowd correctly, what we now know to be Sarada's chakra limits, and how Kawaki's body can overheat if he tries to use too many offensive abilities at once. And now that I've had a couple of days to sit on all this information, I can really see chapter 33 taking us down one of three paths. And thus I want to talk about those three paths from worst case scenario to best case scenario. And thus let's get started with our worst case scenario, which is very obviously something we've already talked about in this video, that Team Boruto will be unable to defend Ada. And in a moment where Ada is successfully separated from Daemon, Mimushi will be able to consume her. And unfortunately, what's crazy about this possibility, even though we've already identified it as our worst case scenario, I do believe out of all the scenarios we're going to talk about today, it might be the most likely one. But why? Well, because we don't know what happens when a Shinju actually gets to consume the person their instincts tell them they should. We know that Ryu wanted to consume Gaara, and that Matsuri wanted to consume Konohamaru. But because those are two legacy characters, the likelihood of them dying was pretty low, especially in the case of Konohamaru, who is an active participant in Boruto's story. And while it wouldn't have been the worst idea of all time to kill Gaara, I mean, he's barely in Boruto's story, considering the fact that we've already killed Gaara once before, we've stripped him of his tailed beast, Oroshiki made him the target of his chakra stealing plot, killing him probably wouldn't have been worth the backlash it received. Gaara's character arc is completed. He's accomplished everything he's ever truly wanted to, and his assassination would have fallen in line with the whole Kaze-Kage curse thing. Not to mention his death would have also primed Shinki for taking over as the Kaze-Kage around the age that Gaara had to do it, and his death would have shown us what happens when a Shinju gets their teeth on the person they want to consume. But like I said, his death probably wouldn't have been worth the backlash it received. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. But we cannot say the same thing for Ada. See, Boruto fans like Ada as a character. I know at least I do. She is the rare case of a female character in the Naruto universe who exudes power in a non-male centric way. Her entire arc with Sarada and Sumire, even though relatively slow, is some of the best writing of women we've ever gotten in the Naruto universe. And while that bar is in hell, I do enjoy the progress. But even with all of that said, the foundation of the idea that she can get all of the love that she needs, not from Kawaki, but rather her two friends in Sarada and Sumire, does, unfortunately for her, finish her character arc. Ada is a person who wanted nothing more than the affection of those around her, and therefore she manifested an omnipotence charm Genjutsu that literally made everybody on Earth fall in love with her the second they saw her. However, because it was a real careful what you wish for kind of situation, now that everybody was in love with her, nothing felt genuine. And therefore she wanted to find somebody from the Otsutsuki clan who was unaffected by her Shinjutsu to fall in love with, which is where Kawaki is injected into the story. But after realizing that Kawaki is, well, for lack of a better word, a dick, Ada decided to find her love elsewhere, and that love was with her two friends, Sarada and Sumire, who are also unaffected by her omnipotence. And thus, from the perspective of her own character arc, there's really nothing more for Ada to accomplish. And therefore, at this point, the biggest impact on the plot she could have would be with her death. Because her death would not only eliminate the possibility of omnipotence ever being used to undo the omnipotence that was fired by Kawaki, a possibility that was explored by Sarada, Sumire, and Ada at the beginning of Two Blue Vortex, but wasn't followed up on account of the fact that they have truly no idea what would actually happen if they did try to undo Kawaki's omnipotence blast. But on top of this, her death would also strip Team Boruto of their access to the Senrigan, which specifically Ada hasn't been using on the Shinjus because of Mimushi's ability to peer back at her whenever she uses the Senrigan on him in real time. But if he was eliminated in this battle against Team Boruto, that would no longer be a concern of Ada's. And therefore, Ada's access to the Senrigan and her ability to watch the Shinju would be a massive advantage advantage that would swing over to the side of Team Boruto, an advantage I don't think Ikimoto wants Team Boruto having. Tie all this into the fact that Kashinkoji was fully willing to allow Konohamaru to be consumed by Matsuri, and it seems as though the Shinju consuming their target really isn't the end of the world. But would the result of Matsuri consuming Konohamaru be different than the result of Ada being consumed by Mimushi? Well, maybe. See, because while we obviously can't know for certain what happens when a Shinju consumes their target, one can assume, because they are sentient divine trees, barring Jura, that they will, like claw grimes, whenever claw grimes sink their teeth into somebody, turn into malformed divine trees, which are unable to produce a fruit unless, of course, the target they have their heart set on is an Otsutsuki. Now, if this is the case, it would technically fly in the face of what the Shinju are trying to accomplish, which is the replacement of humans on Earth as the superior life force, something they hope to achieve by not only being stronger than humanity, but also more intelligent. However, that is technically only a goal we've ever heard Jura speak on. And as Jura's target was originally Naruto, but is now Himawari, and therefore, that is to say, Jura's target is the Nine-Tails chakra, as kind of a husk of the Ten-Tails, him consuming the chakra of the Nine-Tails may ascend him into a higher Ten-Tailed being, a la Jubidara or Jubito. But anyways, we note that the guy who can see the future thought it would be okay if Konohamaru was consumed by Matsuri, because he figured either Konohamaru was no longer needed, or by losing Konohamaru, the Shinju would also lose Matsuri, which would be a net positive for humanity. But Konohamaru is not Ada. That is to say that Konohamaru is just a human, while Ada is a cyborg augmented with the flesh of Shibai. And therefore, while she may not be what we consider to be an Otsutsuki, she does have access to a Shinjutsu. And therefore, while her DNA and chakra may not be 100% Otsutsuki, it is undeniable that at least a little bit of Ada is Otsutsuki. And as we know, if any amount of Otsutsuki is fed to a Ten-Tails, regardless of power or percentage, a divine tree will grow. And that divine tree will bear a chakra fruit that mirrors the quality of Otsutsuki fed to the Ten-Tails. And therefore, if hypothetically Ada or any of the cyborgs that have Shinjutsus from Shibai were fed to presumably a Shinju or a Ten-Tails, there's a good chance they would make a divine tree, though not a super strong one. And thus why Kashinkoji has been so involved in the security of Ada becomes a bit more apparent, because he understands that protecting Ada is much more important than protecting Konohamaru ever was. So what options does that leave Team Boruto? Well, they either have to protect Ada or hide her somewhere that Mimushi cannot get her. And if I'm being honest, neither of those options are looking so great right now. Like I already stated, two of Team Boruto's most powerful options are already down for the count, in Kawaki and Sarada, and while neither of them are dead, and therefore the likelihood of them returning to battle is definitely not zero, as it currently stands, Team Boruto's defenses are ravaged. So what about sending Ada off to somewhere where Mimushi can't get her? I mean, Boruto has Flying Raijin, and Kawaki has the Daikoku-ten. If Boruto sent Ada back to his and Kashinkoji's hideout, Mimushi would probably never find her. And if Kawaki sent her into the Daikoku-ten, there would be no way for Mimushi to access her. And while these are maybe Team Boruto's best options right now, if the end result of Mimushi consuming Ada is the creation of a divine tree, even these options come with their own problems. See, if hypothetically Kawaki sends Ada off to the Daikoku-ten, well, yes, it would solve the issue of Mimushi being able to create a divine tree out of Ada, it wouldn't solve the problem of 1,000 rampaging Mimushis. And while seemingly, regardless of how stupid the Mimushi get, they'll never destroy Konoha because at their very core, they fear the backlash they would receive from Jura if they did. We've seen firsthand that Konoha citizens can absolutely fall in the crossfire of Mimushi's rage. Not to mention that Team Boruto would either have to escape, or would either have to dispatch all of the Mimushis or enough of the Mimushis that Mimushi would decide to flee, something that I believe is highly unlikely. And thus, even teleporting Ada away doesn't solve the problem that Team Boruto is currently facing. So what does? Well, attacking the collective consciousness of Mimushi. See, one of the most important pieces of information that was given to us in chapter 32 was the hypothesis that Amado and Sumire created, that while every single Mimushi does have its own individual personality, they are also all bound together with one collective consciousness. And they were able to draw this conclusion from the fact that when Boruto told just one Mimushi that he was going to show him where Ada was, all the other Mimushis immediately dropped what they were doing to swarm to Boruto's location. Now, it's important to note here that showing Amado and Sumire Sumire making this hypothesis was completely unnecessary. And I'm not even saying that because I believe that the reader could have come to the realization that Amado and Sumire came to by themselves. No, I would never give them that much faith. No, but rather because it's been established for years now that Rinnegan users who are connected to each other are able to share senses, as depicted by the 6 paths of pain being able to share their sense of eyesight with each other, effectively making them have no blind spots. And therefore, it very easily could have just been explained away that the reason that one Mimushi was able to share the information that Boruto said to them with the rest of the Mimushis is because they're all connected through their Rinnegan. And this would have been especially easy with Mimushi on account of the fact that he is a Shinju, and we've already seen that Jura has the ability to look through the eyes of the other Shinjus to such a degree that he cries when they do. But instead, Ikimoto decided to put into our head an idea surrounding a collective consciousness connecting all of the Mimushis. But why? Well, because that's Mimushi's weakness. See, every jutsu has a weakness, even the ones that seem broken. Omnipotence can be reversed if you get to the people affected by it early enough. Daemon can only reflect attacks while both of his palms are touching somebody else. And Mimushi may be able to split infinitely, but one thing ties all of those infinite amount of clones together. And Amado is working on a theory right now about how to attack that one thing. Who will attack this collective consciousness? Well, in all of Team Boruto, it can really only be 2 people. See, unfortunately, Genjutsu seems to be an ancient technique that nobody uses anymore. And therefore, almost everybody on Team Boruto is a power type. But there are 2 people, while power types themselves may have the capacity to attack the consciousness that ties Mimushi together. And those 2 people are Daemon and Sarada. And right now, even though I'd say it's a worse outcome overall, I'd say Daemon has a much higher shot of pulling it off than Sarada. See, we saw very clearly in chapter 32 just how dangerous the reflectability can be when a bunch of people are trying to kill a child. As the second that any of the Mimushi set their killing intent on Daemon, their heads just exploded, which Daemon used to kill over 100 Mimushis in less than a minute. And now that the Mimushi are as numerous as they've ever been, and therefore as dumb as they've ever been, it should be the easiest it's ever been to trick the Mimushis into setting their killing intent on Daemon. Assuming, of course, and this is something I could very much see happening, they don't become beasts that only are able to think about consuming Ada. But if somehow Daemon is able to force the consciousness that ties all of the Mimushis together to set their killing intent on him, and I could see that killing all of the Mimushi simultaneously. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be that complicated. We saw in chapter 32 that so long as Daemon is touching Ada, if anybody touches her with killing intent, that killing intent is reflecting upon that person. And therefore, if the collective consciousness just boils down to the animalistic desire to consume Ada, and that one consciousness becomes the consciousness of all of the Mimushis, there's a possibility that when just one of the Mimushis touches Ada, the rest will die. But that sucks. It's boring, and it props up Daemon as the protector of the village, and he's like morally ambiguous at best. And therefore, if I think anybody is gonna attack the collective consciousness of the Mimushis, it will be Sarada. See, not only was Sarada set up to finish off the Mimushis in the first place, and therefore in actuality, her being the person to finish off the Mimushis would be a good way to redeem herself, but Sarada is just an infinitely more compelling character than Daemon. But there's one problem with the idea of Sarada being our white knight, and that's the fact that she is very much unconscious, and also has about the same amount of access to Genjutsu as everybody else on Team Boruto, which is none whatsoever. But if you'll remember, Kashin Koji's original plan in the Ryu and Matsuri fight was to sacrifice Konohamaru in order to ensure that Sarada was able to awaken her Mangekyo Sharingan ability, which was revealed to be Ohirame. And so far as we understand, Ohirame is only her right Mangekyo Sharingan ability, and therefore we still have yet to see her use her left Mangekyo Sharingan ability. Now, it could be an Amaterasu Kagetsuchi situation, where one eye creates the black holes and the other controls who's affected by them, unless it's only the eye that's creating the black flames that's bleeding, just like with Sasuke, how his Amaterasu eye is the one that bleeds, but not his Kagetsuchi eye. However, so far as we understand right now, Sarada's right eye has already gone blind, or is very close to it. After using Ohirame for just the second ever time, we saw that when Sarada was looking at Delta, Delta was fuzzy. And now that Sarada has tried and failed to use Ohirame again in the same day, it's fair to assume the damage being done to her right eye is immense. Unless now that Sarada's right eye has been hypothetically blinded, this would be the perfect scenario for her to reveal her left eye's ability, which, like that of her uncle, could possibly be a Genjutsu, and most likely a Genjutsu that in some way, shape, or form is a derivative of Tsukiyomi, to balance out her sun and moon analogy, just like that of Itachi. Amaterasu is the goddess of the sun, Tsukiyomi is the god of the moon, and Ohirame is a different term for Amaterasu. But Nick, some of you more logically thinking people are saying she's never tried to use the ability of her left eye, and she's currently unconscious. There is no way she can be the person who saved the day. And you're right. The chances are slim. By my own admission, I said honestly, the most likely outcome of this fight is that Ada's gonna die. But there is a blossoming Ninetales Jinchuriki on the battlefield. And we've seen what an eruption of Ninetales chakra can do to those who are around it. Like when Naruto first accessed Kurama's chakra in the Land of Waves. He blasted his surroundings with chakra so incredibly dense that it not only healed all of his wounds, but also, to some degree, Sasuke's. Not to mention that willingly sharing parts of Kurama's chakra with other people not only replenishes depleted chakra reserves, like we saw in the 4th Great Shinobi World War, but also heals the injuries of those you share it with. And we saw time and time again that Naruto sharing his chakra with specifically Kakashi allowed for Kakashi to not only take less damage to his eyes whenever he used Kamui, but also allowed for him to use Kamui substantially more often. On top of this, we've already seen Himawari heal people from supposedly fatal wounds, as she was able to use Kurama's chakra to heal a cannonball-sized hole in Inojin's chest. And therefore, if I had to take a guess on how Sarada is going to be able to return to the battlefield, I'd put my money on Himawari, who's not only going to be able to let loose in a battle against an army of Mimushis, who she doesn't have to worry about destroying Konoha while fighting against because they're in the middle of nowhere, but also is the only powerhouse left standing outside of her real-life genetic brother, Boruto. And while Himawari and Boruto still have access to some crazy power moves that can take out tons of Mamushis, like a fully charged Rasengan Uzehiko and tailed beast balls, unfortunately, so long as Mamushi continues to split at will, until all of the Mamushis can be frozen in place and dispatched while they're distracted through a Genjutsu, Mamushi will be effectively unkillable. So if I had to sit here and put my money on a positive conclusion, I'm gonna say that positive conclusion will most likely include Himawari healing Sarada, and Sarada finally using her second Mangekyo Sharingan ability. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. What do you believe Chapter 33 will hold for us? Let me know in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta figure out who wins in a fight between Jura and Ishiki.